we are rolling.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Did anybody see that documentary, the 13th?
Yeah.
The 13th?
Yeah.
It's about the 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Was it on HBO or something? I mean, like it was okay?
I saw it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too.
But I'll ask him if the movie man, if he got it, because I'll make some DVDs of it and it'll be good to put out. It's called The 13th. It's about mainly, you know, in the 13th Amendment, people are given you remember the movie Lincoln, where he was working to get that amendment, so that after slavery, it wouldn't revert back to a state right, and the states couldn't pass legislation to bring back the type of slavery. Of course they did. Remember we was in that movie, what's the name? You call it Jones, Country of Jones or something. Remember the brother, the southern little statelet that they had?
You talking about Matthew McConaughey, Freedom Southern?
Yeah, the Free State of Jones.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
okay.
I got you. Right.
Oh, well, I looked that up on the internet, and that was kind of realistic.
Right.
And the thing that was going on in the background, not to change the subject, was that trial.
Right.
And they had the two women, remember? Well, it was a little opposite of what they had it like. He was staying with his black wife, and she stayed down the hill, the white wife.
Right.
Okay, it might have been a little reversed.
Right.
Whatever it is, they all had a house full of children, the white wife, but the children of each one of them, which was half brothers and sisters,
right,
they married each other.
Okay.
And that's why the boy that was white, now this is only 3 transfers from their time. If this was in the 50s when that movie, when they was trying to, I saw pictures of some of the children was just regular white folks.
Right.
Some of them was light black people, and they were all very, what you call, good looking. They were all, but you could tell a few of them had a little black in them.
Right.
But if one of the white kids from the white parent married one of the mixed black and white, but it was a real whitish black and white.
Right.
The kids came out almost white. You couldn't tell the difference.
Right.
But if they married one that came out on the little dark side,
right,
it was a white on white married a white on black little sprinkle in there. So they came out everywhere on the spectrum.
Right.
But back to the original thing. On this 13th Amendment, Lincoln was working on that. But it guarantees freedom for everybody, except in the case of conviction. You know what I mean? Except in the case of conviction.
If you're a convict.
Yeah, if you're a convict. Now, when you're a convict, you lose certain rights. You know, remember, up until recently, when I first started going to penitentiary, they sentenced you to so many years at hard labor.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Remember all the chain gangs and all of that?
Right.
What they did, they substituted, since the 13th Amendment allowed you to put people into a hard working situation. If you get convicted, they just was rounding up black people in the South. That's what those chain gangs was about.
Okay.
And especially in the South, the sheriff, the county farm they had, say the big planter need 100 people to pick cotton. Well, the sheriff gonna round up 100 niggas, or 150 niggas. But maybe 10 of them did something wrong, but the rest of them, they just, you know, you black, so you gotta do, let's see, cotton picking time is gonna be a 60-day period, so you get 60 days. Yeah.
So in other words, like the Israelis do the Palestinians, when something go down, they just go and round up as many as they can and lock them up what they had in
They round up black people right now.
Right.
They have there's no, remember a few years back, they used to have all these stops.
Right.
Maybe on East Capitol, maybe on Benning Road. They don't have them much anymore. But in Oakland, they had them, and they would take your car if you don't have, just anything.
Right.
If you had them in the white neighborhood, you'd catch people without license, without this, without that too. So you have them here, you get a chance to oppress people. This is a high crime neighborhood. But if you put them in jail, instead of farming, the big plantation owner down in Dixie need 100 people to pick cotton to do work. So he get the sheriff and the sheriff get him these convicts, you know what I mean? And they pick all the cotton, and he may get his sheriff. He said, I'm gonna give you 50 cents a day per,
Convict.
And he got free labor. And the sheriff got a little, in all those towns in the South, I'm from the South, in every town, it was a big white man. Maybe it was a big enough town, it would be 2, 3 big families. Most little towns had one big white man. He ran the show. He put the sheriff in, yeah.
Like in the heat of the night,
Just like that's the way it's been. And to tell the truth, it's still that way, basically. You go driving through Dixie, and you see Mr. So-and-so owns, all the stuff around, and he runs the town. The sheriff and everything, and everything. So anyway, that's what the 13th Amendment is. And this film called The 13th has a lot of, has Angela Davis, it has all the middle class PhDs, and Cory Booker was there, all the people talking about, they were correct what they were saying. The only thing is that 35 years late, at 35, they don't say it when all the people is dead, all the stuff that the Clintons did, the crime bill, all the stuff Reagan did, all the stuff Nixon did. Okay, my case challenging was in Nixon's time.
Right.
This is what I was challenging then. I was challenging the new war on drugs. And I was challenging on the basis of, you got a war, you declare, first of all, this is after the 60s, and we already know that they brought the drugs in to break up the black community. We already down with that. We all basically know that by the early 70s. So my case, all the legal stuff I showed y'all was the first historical attempt to try to explain that to everybody. Okay, I didn't win, but it wasn't too bad. I mean, I got a chance to leave the country to get rich, and I got a chance it was great. I mean, I wound up in Leavenworth, but so what the heck? The point is that I was watching that last night. It's been out for a while, but I was watching it last night. And I'll start off by reading a couple of short articles, and then I'll go into what I want to talk about today. This is about the 13th, the war on drugs. prison industrial complex, war on terror, and all of its justifications. So, I'm going to read a little bit about this brother right here. Has anybody ever heard of Hubert Harrison? Hubert Harrison. I had one program and I talked about it. But you'll wonder why you never heard of him. Hubert Harrison, West Indian American writer, orator, educator, critic, and radical political activist based in Harlem, New York. He was described by activist A. Philip Randolph as the father of Harlem radicalism, and by historian Joel Augustus Rogers as the foremost African-American intellect of his time. An immigrant from St. Croix at the age of 17, Harrison played significant roles in the largest radical class and race movements in the United States. In 1912 and 1914, he was a leading black organizer in the Socialist Party of America. In 1917, he founded the Liberty League and The Voice, the first organization and the first newspaper of the race-conscious New Negro movement. From his Liberty League, The Voice came the core leadership of individuals and race consciousness program of the Marcus Garvey movement. I'll read a little bit more. Harrison was a seminal and influential thinker who encouraged the development of class consciousness amongst working people, positive race consciousness among black people, secular humanism, modern thinking, and intellectual independence. This is critical. Intellectual independence. He was also a self-described radical internationalist, and contributed significantly to the Caribbean radical tradition. Harrison profoundly influenced a generation of new Negro militants, including A. Philip Randolph, Chandler Owen, Marcus Garvey, Richard Benjamin Moore, W.A. Domingo, William Burroughs, and Cryle Briggs. I'm going to have to read a little more so we get the idea. And as we read, you'll see if you've heard this type of thing before. Harrison was an early supporter of the protest philosophies of W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter. Particularly after the Brownsville affair, that was in Brownsville down in Texas, he became an outspoken critic of President Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft and the Republican Party. He also criticized the prominent black leader Booker T. Washington, whose political philosophy Harrison considered subservient. In 1910, Harrison wrote 2 letters to the New York Sun that were critical of statements by Washington. Harrison lost his postal employment through what he said were efforts of Washington's powerful Tuskegee machine. In events that involved the prominent black Republican Charles A. Anderson, Washington's assistant Emmett Scott, and New York postmaster Edward M. Morgan. This was how he got fired. Now a little bit. In 1911, after his postal firing, Harrison began full-time work with the Socialist Party of America and became America's leading black socialist. He lectured widely against capitalism, campaigned for the party presidential candidate, He developed two important pioneer theoretical series on the Negro and socialism. This is where it gets interesting. For the socialist newspaper, the New York Call, and for the Socialist Monthly International Socialist Review, he maintained that it was the principal duty of the socialists to champion the cause of African American, and that the socialists should undertake special efforts to reach African Americans as they had done with foreigners and women. You know, in those days they reached out to immigrants, you know, the union movements, because they were all immigrants, everybody worked in factories. He's saying to the Socialist Party that you should reach out to Negroes. This is during the time of the first great migration of blacks from the South to the North, the early 1900s. Perhaps most importantly, he emphasized that politically the Negro is the touchstone of the modern democratic idea, and that true democracy and equality implies a revolution, startling even to think of. So you get the idea why you never heard of him as we go on.
Yeah, I got it already.
Yeah, you can, and you'll get the idea that they do him
Same way you did.
exactly the same way. And I got this article in 2010, but we already been on our road for all this time. But it was interesting that I stumbled up on Hubert Harrison. When I read about him, I said, anyway, we're going to read on. He also supported IWW, that must be International Workers or something, advocacy to direct action and sabotage. Remember this during the Palmer raids. Remember the Palmer raids? Were those raids did you remember seeing J. Edgar Hoover, the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, remember the first raids that they did. J. Edgar Hoover was a white people and what have you. That was the Palmer raids against leftist anarchists and other people.
What year was that?
It's right at 1920 something.
Okay.
1920. But he commended the interracial IWW influence Brotherhood of Timber Workers efforts in the Deep South. Despite his efforts, Socialist Party practices and positions included segregated locals in the South and racist positions on Asian immigration. Harrison concluded that the Socialist Party leaders, like organized labor, put the white race first and class after. Of course, he quit the party. Now here's a section, race radicalism and the new Negro movement. That's what they called it nowadays, the new Negro. They had a patch of the new Negro in 1960. In 1914 and 15, after withdrawing from the Socialist Party, Harrison began work with free thinkers. The free thought anarchist influenced modern school movement started by the martyred Spanish anarchist educator Francisco Ferreira and his own radical forum. He also spoke widely on topics such as birth control, evolution, literature, and racial aspects of World War I. His outdoor talks and free speech efforts were instrumental in developing a Harlem tradition of militant street corner oratory. He paved the way for those who followed, including A. Philip Randolph, Marcus Garvey, Richard B. Moore, and Malcolm X. You see what I mean? But don't nobody, you ask any Negro activist, he don't even know. Now, in 1915 and 16, after the New York Age editorial by James Weldon Johnson praised his street lectures. You remember James Weldon Johnson?
Sure.
Lift every voice and sing, da 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 da. So he wasn't no obscure person. He was
Well known.
probably after Marcus Garvey, the most well. In fact, we'll see later on that he wrote it. We'll see what he did. Harrison decided to concentrate his work in Harlem's black community. He wrote reviews on the developing black theater and pioneering Lafayette players of the Lafayette Theater Harlem. He emphasized how the Negro theater helped express the psychology of the Negro and how it called attention to color consciousness within the African American community. So this guy was right up in the modern, okay. In response to the white first attitude of the organized labor movements and the socialists, Harrison provided a race-first political perspective. He founded the New Negro movement as a race-conscious, internationalist, mass-based, radical movement for equality, justice, opportunity, economic power. Now let's look at what he just did. He based himself in Harlem with his people, right? Although he comes from a socialist background. He founded the New Negro movement as a race-conscious, yet internationalist with everybody else on the colonialism, mass-based radical movement for equality, justice, opportunity, and economic power. This guy was
So in other words, he was national but global too.
of course. This New Negro movement laid the basis for the Garvey movement. It encouraged mass interest in literature and the arts and paved the way for the publication of Alan Locke's well-known New Negro 8 years later. Harrison's mass-based political movement was noticeably different from the more middle-class and apolitical movements associated with Locke. I might as well just read a little more. I don't want to read.
Oh, no, keep on, man.
In 1917, African Americans and others were asked to make the world safe for democracy. I'm going to skip that part. Harrison founded the Liberty League movement, the voice as a radical alternative to NAACP, of course. The Liberty League aimed at the black masses beyond the talented 10th. The talented 10th, that's W.E.B. Du Bois. So he was smart. Its program advocated internationalism, political independence, and class and race consciousness. In other words, he touched every base that should be touched. He was independent, locally based, but he was with all other colonial peoples. And he saw the liberation of one as the liberation of others. You're going to see how sharp he gets a little later. It called for full equality, federal anti-lynching legislation, enforcement of the 14th and 15th Amendments, labor organizing, support for socialist and anti-imperialist causes, armed self-defense sound like the Black Panther Party now. Remember all those posters I showed of the Black Panther Party in 1968? Here's this guy doing the exact same thing.
40 years earlier.
Way earlier, yeah, almost 50 years earlier. And mass-based political efforts. I'm going to skip a little bit. The autonomous Liberty Congress effort was undermined by the U.S. Army's Anti-Radical Military Intelligence Bureau in a campaign that targeted the NAACP leader Joel E. Spurgeon or something, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Booker T. Washington, Booker T. Washington's former assistant, Emmett Scott. I think he was a little more radical than Booker T. The Liberty Congress protest in wartime can be seen as a precursor to A. Phillips Randolph-led March on Washington movement during the World War II. And on A. Philip Randolph and Martin Luther King Jr. led March on Washington for jobs, freedom during the Vietnam War. I'll read just a little bit more. In 1919, Harrison edited the monthly New Negro magazine, which was intended as an organ of the international consciousness of the darker races, especially of the Negro race. Harrison's concentration on international matters continued. Over the next several years, he wrote many powerful pieces critical of imperialism and supportive of internationalism. His writings and talks over his last decade revealed a deep understanding of developments in India, China, Africa, Asia, and the Islamic world, and the Caribbean. Harrison repeatedly began his analysis of contemporary situations from an international perspective. Though a strong advocate of armed self-defense for African Americans, he also praised the mass-based, nonviolent efforts of Mahatma Gandhi. This guy touched all the right bases, and I'll stop in 1 minute. In January 1920, Harrison became principal editor of the Negro World, the newspaper of Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. Over the next 8 months, he developed it into the leading race-conscious, radical, and literary publication of the day. If you would have studied Ghana in the 1950s or East Africa, the Marcus Garvey's newspaper, when they talk about freedom and liberation, they go back to Garvey and they go back to the Negro world, because that paper was taken all over the world by merchant seamen and people like that. And it was read in East Africa and West Africa. And it sparked it dealt with decolonization. You know, like 40 years before the fact. Okay, just a little bit more. By August 1920 UNA convention, Harrison had grown increasingly critical of Garvey. He did contribute to UNIA's 1920 Declaration of the Negro Peoples of the World. Okay, let's see what he kind of disagreed with Garvey on. Harrison criticized Garvey for exaggerations, financial schemes, and the desire for empire. I mean, you can't be, he's not Garvey the angel, but in contrast to Garvey, Harrison emphasized that the African Americans' principal struggle was in the United States, not in Africa. See, back to Africa movement,
Right.
5-6 million blacks, is that going to work? Absolutely not. Plus Africa was all colonized by Europeans anyway. You see what I mean? So he's saying we have to focus on this continent. That means he also, you know, he concentrated on blacks in the USA. He's from the Caribbean, like Marcus Garvey. Now you got to remember that one thing that you remember hearing of Imam Yassin Abu Bakr from Trinidad. Remember the coup in Trinidad in 1990?
Right.
That's Yassin Abu Bakr.
Okay.
Okay, he's a friend of mine. When we would be at big conferences, he would also try to needle me. He said, now you know, Imam Musa, we was 50 years ahead of y'all in liberation. I said, that's because y'all wasn't up here with this white man. Y'all was down there, and there would be 10,000 of y'all and 2 white folks. So you had to, well, Haiti, I said, okay, you know, y'all didn't do bad. You know, I'm an internationalist Negro. So free of one, free us all. So just because y'all was a little ahead of us. So Marcus Garvey, Jamaica, right? He's from St. Croix. Plus, those were slave-breaking islands.
Right.
The Africans that they couldn't break, they kept down there. And they sent us up here. So if you go to Antigua, when I went to Antigua, the people looked like the houses they built looked like Africa almost 100 years ago. And if you wanted to study African culture 200 years ago, you know where you would study it at? In Guyana and Suriname, those countries on the tip of South America. Because they sent black people had to be slaves, but 2 blocks away is the jungle that they just came from. So they couldn't bring those African slaves there because everybody just ran off in the jungle. And they built a community just like they had back then. So if you want to see people with these big bowls and crushing corn and everything with a big pole like they did 200 years ago, you would find it down there 40 years ago. But anyway, though Harrison continued to write for the Negro World into 1922, he looked to develop political alternatives to Garvey. I'll read the last one. In 1924, Harrison founded the International Colored Unity League, which was his most broadly unitary effort. The ICUL urged black people to develop race consciousness as a defensive measure, to be aware of their racial oppression and to use that awareness to unite, organize, and respond as a group. The ICUL program sought political rights, economic power, and social justice, urged self-reliance, self-sufficiency, and cooperative efforts, and called for the founding of a Negro state in the U.S., not in Africa, as Garvey advocated. The guy was on the money. No, don't send us all back to Africa. Here's what you do. Let us have a couple of states. You notice Elijah Muhammad and all of we need so many states. Now, later on, if you were to read it all, you would see that Hubert Harrison ran in fact, you could have that.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I have a couple more.
Shukran.
Yeah. What I read that for was When I looked at that 13th yesterday, it was just something else. You know, and they left out the important parts. They talked about the crime bill and how they just wound up black people and put them in prison. They did a good job and how the growth of the prison. They did a good job. But you know what? Message to the Oppressed, Slavery, 1984, drugs, and all the stuff, apartheid and Zionist regime, let's see what else we got. Even got the chief in there, Iran on African Americans, civil liberties, things like violence, all the things of that day, we dealt with it, you know, violence and what have you. But this is from the LA Sentinel, October 1984. We talked about gangs and gang terror, but we were strong in unifying and educating gangs, you know what I mean, and teaching them, you know, about what they're actually doing. We taught them about the guns, how in 72, 73, 74, after the Black Revolution was dead, and before that it was hard to get guns. And after that, the neighborhoods were flooded with guns. And even the article today talk about white folks and how the white groups right around LA gave the Negroes all the guns. 7 more dead. Authorities declare war. That's LA Sentinel. Remember the LA Sentinel? The black newspaper. It was a good newspaper too. 25 LA gangs, remember, linked to drug sellers. In other words, we talked about drugs, drug dealing, drug addiction. You got some in here. Imam Khomeini urges world ulama to counter anti-Islamic stand of their governments. So all the modern, up-to-date stuff we dealt with 1984, what is that, 32 years ago?
Right.
But you don't see none of that. I mean, we have special programs. This is 86, this is a little later. Drugs and their effects. It was a few of us that were specialists on the subject. Remember, this is 12 years after, you know, I'm going to court, and I mean, I got proof by that time that the United States used the drug war to justify criminalizing the black community. It used the drug war to destroy the black movement. It used the drug war to justify, even today, the way it uses terrorism. In this article, Open Letter to the People of Oakland, it speaks specifically the drug war and the war against Islam. And just briefly, we say this is actually a war on black people characterized by the following aims: destroying the family and community in which it has been 100% effective. This is relatively up to date, about 7, 8, 9 years ago. Well, one of the pictures is 11/4/205. Okay, we'll continue. Taking away constitutional rights and guarantees. That's what they do with the drug war like this. You notice the military treatment of the guns and night vision, everything you think of. Turning urban centers into police states. Decriminalizing the whole black and Latino community. Next, war against Islam. The Muslim threat is actually meant to achieve the following goals. Stopping the global Islamic revival, which has been steadily gaining momentum across the world, from Oakland to Palestine. Branding all works of Muslims as terrorism. C. Changing the public image of Muslims from advocates of education, development, and social justice to one of terrorists. You can remember, everybody thought of a Muslim. Muslims always had books under their arms. And never a bomb. This is a national program. We put out CDs and tapes and all kind of, not CDs, but they call video tapes then. Drugs and their effects on the individual, April 86. On the family and friends, May 86. On the community, May 86. Drugs as a means of exploitation and control of the black community. Who is the real victim? Number 5. What can and should be done to save ourselves, our community, from this deadly and destructive element? So we've been focused on this stuff for 35 years. But when you hear about it, you hear about it from the educated class, the people who did research on it. But then ain't never, Cory Booker, all them people, they were all, some of them had Muslim names, half a name. They were good. They really, but they did a study on it. They studied this stuff. They were teachers at big universities and all that. But not one person, they had to tell them that we've been telling y'all this since I don't know when. Why you never, you know what I mean? Why nobody never get to the real people? That's the reason that 13th Amendment reminded that movie, the video documentary reminded me of us 100%. That's why I remembered I had Hubert Harrison. Why? Because, look, anybody but us.
Right.
On everything.
Right.
And it's always 25 years later, 30 years later, and the fitna we had to put up with. This is now, I was associated with these brothers, but I tried to stop this stuff. This is the Islamic Republic of New Africa. Now remember, they were trying to work like the Republic of New Africa. Chokwe Lumumba and them down in the Republic of New Africa, they had people in the cities all around the west, east coast. Then they moved down to Mississippi. In fact, Chokwe Lumumba either won the mayorship down there in Jackson, Mississippi, or he just died a couple of years ago, but he was a big lawyer. These are African nationalists, you know what I mean? So they found it, and the people migrated down there, and they called the Republic of New Africa. Now the Negro police, in order to divert, anybody that's on the money, they try to divert them or keep them quiet, like they did him. How is it that the most dynamic, and when you actually analyze what he was saying, he didn't make no mistakes during his time.
He was a visionary.
He was a visionary. He stayed close to home with black people, but he said, it ain't just me and you, the Negro here, it's the whole people of color, decolonization also. So he was down, he was an expert on India, China, and everywhere Africa that was oppressed. Okay, what this is an attempt. The main brother, he went and he had the Islamic Republic print these, and they spent $7,000 on it. And I couldn't go to the ambassador. I would look all up in the air when they asked me about it, but I wouldn't say, that stuff is crazy, man. Don't spend no money on that. Spend it on, yeah.
So where was that supposed to be at, the Islamic Republic of New Africa?
That's anywhere, that's here in the U.S. That's what we're supposed to do here.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Take our, community. Look at what everybody did. The Dar al-Islam movement was very effective in our neighborhood. So was the Islamic Party. What happened to when they took over the Dar al-Islam movement? What did Sheikh Jelani do? Took them out of the country. What effect do you have out of the country? You're not going to build a new republic, a new Islamic.
Especially when you live here.
Yeah, when all the people is here, everything is happening here. So if you want to build a new republic, build it right in the city. Where you with everybody, because we call the people of Islam. We ain't going to the city to call the people out of the city to the country to milk cows. It ain't gonna, okay, now that's what Sheikh Jelani did. And remember, some of the people would come here every now and then.
Right.
And they would leave their newspaper down there. And after a while, I hit them a little hard and they stopped coming. Okay, what happened to the Islamic Party? It went down to the islands.
That's right.
Okay.
Export.
Diverted. Everybody's diverted. Everybody. And they use our people like Suleiman Al-Hadi, last poets, good friend of mine. Yeah.
That's why sometimes, Brother Abdul sent you his salams. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, I forgot to tell you.
Okay.
But when I talked to him about certain things that happen up here, it doesn't resonate with him because he says, he was down the islands. So he's down the islands and certain things are going on here. So he has that Islamic Party stuff down pat for what they did. But in that interim time that they weren't here, he missed out, he has no connection to that because he wasn't here.
Okay, but the immigrants, they did the same thing. I'll tell you their name, the main immigrants. They was against the Islamic Party. They were against the Dar al-Islam movement. I remember back in those days, because when I would study around foreigners, or even if Egyptians or anything came into the pen in Florida, and I would ask them, do you know any brothers from Dar? Oh, you got to watch out for them brothers. And I just listen to them. Go ahead and continue more. What it means is always trying to divert us. What they've been trying to do to us for decades. Of course, we got Marcus Garvey and everybody in here. This was some meaningful stuff, but it was a diversion to get people to do something that will not work. Just like Marcus Garvey trying to get everybody to go back to Africa. It's a diversion. He didn't mean, he had a good idea, but to get enough people back to Africa, well, the only place they could go was Liberia. Everybody else was colonized. Okay. The point I'm making is when I watched that 13th, I enjoyed it, but I said, damn, 35 years late. Now, that's critical for us because we are As-Sabiqun. And if you remember some of our brother who was here was always trying to tell us to slow down and bring the Negro organizations around here along. I said, you go get them. But we can't slow down. We're As-Sabiqun. We cannot, if we slow down and wait for them, that's where we're going to be.
It won't get done.
It won't get done. And that's not As-Sabiqun's job. As-Sabiqun's job is to get out and get busy. That's why this national liberation movement, Islamic liberation movement, all the terms that we use.
North America.
Of North America. That's what's needed for here.
That's right.
To liberate the agenda. It's always been like that. I don't care what movement or what time. The civil rights movement, they want to control Dr. King. You can read Frederick Douglass. Boy, the white folks, you ever read Frederick Douglass's 4th of July talk on the 4th of July? Good God Almighty, that boy is wearing them white Europeans out. He's saying the 4th of July is your holiday.
Right.
Talking to the white supporters. We ain't caring about no 4th of July. It don't have nothing to do with us. We still in slavery. You see what I mean? The point I'm making is, the point of other people always wanting to tell us what to do and divert our message. Take the good message, right? Take it off the agenda and raise up their people. That's what they do. They always raise up their people to do all the talking. That's why when you see us coming up with, when you see any of this stuff, that's their agenda.
Oh yeah, the usual suspects.
That's right. And they're going to divert everybody away from the real focus. They're going to teach inferiority. They're teaching inferiority. We are black. The people of knowledge. We've been over to Saudi Arabia. They lighter than we are. They got curly hair. They know what they're talking about.
See, all's being done is, prior to Islam and Jahiliyyah, those that were in awe of the white man.
Right.
Okay, when you get to Islam, now you got the African-American, Muslims of African-American descent that are in awe of the immigrants. So the immigrant has just replaced the white man from Jahiliyyah time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
And see,
I remember, we ain't gonna mention no names, but there's a certain sister on that agenda that you told her a long time ago, when they first got in a certain position, you need any help, you need any assistance, we got your back. Ain't nobody ever called for nothing. They went right along with that agenda they got, and they've been going along with it ever since.
There's no doubt about it. We can see the same agenda. Muslim Alliance of North America. Man, it's 2007. Kente cloth looking stuff, right? And they say Black American Muslim community, the state of the black, remember the state of the Ummah stuff we had 10 years before this? We started right after 9/11. We said we got to have national conferences. We had one out there in Oakland, well, around Oakland. We had one here briefly. It was the state of the Ummah. That means, what is the state of the Ummah during this period? What is the state of the Ummah? What should we do? How should we organize? How is this going to affect the Muslims? How is this going to affect Islam? And what measures and countermeasures should we take to ensure the safety and the progress of the Muslim community? But no, here it is. 6, 7 years later, they have the state of the Black American Muslim community. assessment and analysis for an achievable agenda. By that time, all of the people on here are on the, what's the name's agenda? As dear Siraj,
You're on the circuit.
Zaid, Shaka, Sherman, Jackson, Cloud. They're not bad people, Fahim Shuaib from Oakland. Everybody, Hassan Bagley, Rami Nashashidi, Jahari Abdul-Malik from right over there. Rami Nashashidi, they had a movie about 3 or 4 years ago. One is Imam Lukman's son is in it, and they playing a detective and something that's watching the Muslim mafia dope dealer, and then Rami Nashashidi is in it. He's from Chicago. Rami Nashashidi, I know him very well. He's with these people that want to control the agenda of black people and what have you. This is a deer sort of passport. I was a little younger then, of course. This is a passport photo. This is a Hajj, 1988 Hajj visa. The only thing about it is they give it to the poor brother after Hajj is over, so we can send other people. But I said that because yesterday I watched RT TV, and this lady Medea Benjamin from Cold Pink was on. We spoke on the same platform together in Detroit a few months back. She wrote a book on Saudi Arabia, and she's telling all about Saudi Arabia. And I mean, it's okay to read a book, but we've been doing this for 1,000 years, you know what I mean? Staqbul all kind of stuff. And the point is, our brothers having a program have a lot of European speakers now. They can talk a little bit about the subjects, but they can't give it no punch on how it fits us. All they can say is Saudi Arabia did this, Saudi Arabia did that. And they want to be associated with, they think if those people talk about their situation, just like the educated Negro, he's not as offensive or as we are, like they always would try to tell us, well, you guys are not that well educated. Basically, just because we speak all over the world, claps and cheers, you know what I mean, the biggest ulama in the world saying, man, I remember one lecture, it was the first big conference in '84 up in Canada. The second and third biggest Ayatollah in Iran, Ayatollah Mahdavi Khani. He started one of the big universities there, Jaffa Sadiq University. So the brothers from Berkeley, he was up in the back listening to the lecture. And the brothers from Berkeley they knew me very well. They was translating, they knew, you know, my form of talk, right? So they was translating it for him. He came and spoke next. He said, Asant, to this person, you know. And he didn't say that to nobody. He was just, man, this man didn't know. Huh?
What does that mean?
Like, thank you.
Okay.
Asant, oh, it's good, you know. People been knowing about us. This is that big shakeup they had back in the 90s about the federal list that they had of organizations. This is just the first page. It has all the people. It had Mandela on it. It had ANC. It had everybody that the Zionists didn't like. This is the one that the police, Gerard and another guy, Bullock, had FBI clearance. And they got the names, addresses of all the radicals or everybody that he might smell or just think this guy had a bad thought 40 years ago. The brain scan showed that he was thinking bad stuff. So we put them in the organization on the list. This is the front page right here. Right here you'll see what it is, Masjid al-Islam. Right there where the black arrow is. That's way before any list or anything else they had. This one is from back in the 80s. Okay.
You see that?
This, yeah. Yeah, I'll make you a copy. I just made
I just want to look at it.
Yeah. So, the other thing I want to talk about is that there's always an attempt to divert people from their mission. And when we talk about the mission to liberate the Islamic movement from foreign control and domination, is not a new, this is exactly, Hubert Harrison is the exact same thing. And all the brothers throughout our history had the exact same problem. And the same problem we have with the Muslims. We are right, but you can't control us. There's a few points that are totally untenable for us. Number one, you can't tell us who Saudi Arabia is, and you can't tell us all of that stuff. But we're not going to let you come here and tell us what Islam is, right? And you're not practicing it. You're talking about you don't know Islam. We read Yusuf Ali, strictly the English part, and we practicing better Islam than you.
That's true.
Something's wrong. But this is the thing, this guy, Hubert Harrison, when he always stressed race consciousness as the new Negro. He's based in his home, but he's international. But he's not going to let white folks, as soon as the white folks talk about socialism, sounds great. Very good. The only thing is, you concentrating on white folks, there's immigrants, instead of Negroes who's been here all the time. You concentrating on white women and white men who are immigrants. You concentrating on our Italians and Polacks and Lithuanians, anybody but Negroes.
Right, exactly.
You see? Okay. We're based right here in D.C. and we're based there in Oakland. And we're going, all our bases is going to be right at home. But we're going to cooperate with everybody. But people do not like independent folks. One of our friends is coming over, supposedly, I don't want to get into it, from over there somewhere in a few days. And call asks, am I going to be here? Will I stay here a few more days before I go back to, I said, I don't mind. Shoot, I've been looking for excuses, so if you, whether you're friendly or an enemy, good. I told everybody, you give me an excuse to stay as good as life is here, and I already wrote down exactly what I'm going to do in Oakland. So whether I go today, whether I go in 2 months, it has nothing to do with anything except we evolve more staying here. We've had enough confrontation for that period. So we've already did our evolving. In the period of confrontation, but the digesting and redigesting and studying what we've dealt with comes from our practice. That's where this asymmetric warfare comes from. In fact, you could have this too. Asymmetric warfare is war between belligerents whose relative military power differed significantly, or whose strategy or tactics differed significantly. Asymmetric warfare can describe a conflict in which the resources of two belligerents differ in essence and in struggle, interact and attempt to exploit each other's characteristic weaknesses. Such struggle often involves strategies and tactics of unconventional warfare. The weaker combatants attempting to use strategy to offset deficiencies in quality and quantity. That means the belligerent, the weaker one, us. Yeah, sure. But we can think, see. Such strategies may not necessarily be militarized. This is in contrast to symmetric warfare, where two powers have similar military power and resources and rely on tactics that are similar overall, differing only in detail and execution. The term is also frequently used to describe what is called guerrilla warfare, insurgency, terrorism, counterinsurgency, counterterrorism, essentially violent conflict between a formal military and informal, less equipped and supported, undermanned, but resilient opponent. I just want to read a little bit of this right here. I don't have any more. That's right. I'll just read a little bit. Tactical basis, strategic basis, all that stuff. But power, let's see. Power, in this sense, is broadly understood to mean material power, such large matter. Academic authors tend to focus more on explaining the puzzle of weak actor victory in war. If power, conventionally understood, conduces to victory in war, then how is the victory of the weak over the strong explained by key explanations? Now, there's something that the white folks have right here. And guess what it says? Right here it says, since 1950, however, weak actors have won a majority of all asymmetric conflicts. Why did it start in 1950? Korea. A lot of people haven't heard of Korea. And the Korean War. In the paper they call it the Korean conflict, but they lost more people in Korea than they did in Vietnam. 58,000. It was both 50-something thousand, but it was a big war.
Right.
A big deal. But the Koreans stopped the U.S. in its tracks. And they had General Douglas MacArthur over there.
Doug.
They had Doug. They have a few factors that, there's a book, I don't know what the guy called it, let me see. Why Big Nations Lose Small Wars in World Politics, in which asymmetric refers to asymmetric warfare. Here's how they try to explain it. Now, what we're saying is we are already winning this asymmetric warfare. We winning hands down. We kicking behind, ain't no doubt about that. Things like design fitna. Design fitna, that's 2011. That's a big deal.
Right.
Design fitna. We know we're weaker than Sam. Physically, people, everything, money. He got trillions that he steal. He can print money. But we gotta go hustle it up. So design fitna is a small group of people who know that they're going to encounter difficulties. They know their enemy, and they know how their enemy responds to certain intelligence and information because they have tested them by then 40 years. They know their enemy very well. And they know the people that feed the enemy. Therefore, design fitna is just what we got over the last few years. The design fitna. From 2011, right? From before that, maybe 2009 and 10, we're already into design fitna. But now, you know, did you ever go fishing down south a little bit? Not too much?
Not down south, but in my hometown, yeah, I've gone fishing a few times.
But you know, they used to have a little bob, you know, a little float.
Yeah, a little float thing.
Yeah, you throw it out there, and if you get a bite, it goes up and down, okay? If it get a big, you know, you got it. Or if you throw the weighty things out there with the hooks on it, yeah, and you got your pole sitting in this rack, you know, you can tell when the fish is nibbling. You see the line go a little bit like this. But when he gets snagged, the pole tight, you know, okay. By this time, we got the white man snagged. We got everybody snagged. This is 2011. This is not long ago. This is 5 years ago. But in our protracted long-range struggle, it's not a long time. For 5 years, a lot of people is a long time. But I'm telling you, 5 years for us is literally, I don't know.
Yesterday.
It goes and comes so fast it don't, you know. So, we designed the fitna that we got. And then we knew it by 2013. We could bring you writings to prove it. This is it, this is the best time, this is, we've been through it many times. Why? Because nobody can tell anybody, and we're not giving them a chance by making innuendo speeches. So if we fall down and break our neck tomorrow, which is very possible, then they'll come out and they'll say, oh, we helped them guys do that, because it's all out in paperwork, it's all out to the public, so the people are stumbling upon us now. There's a difference between Hubert Harrison. See, Hubert Harrison, remember, he only had maybe a 20-year period of writing. Yeah, let's say 1908, 1910, and all that to 1920. For them, that was a long time. But for us, 20 years ago, there's nothing. It's just right back, you know, a little while ago. That was 96. That's nothing. Okay, we was already here. We'd already bought here in 96. Here's the point. What we have to teach people during this period of time, I know we've said it over and over again, but we have to teach people that they have the ability to think, to organize, to mobilize, and to pick their own targets and pick their own method of operation.
And the right.
They have the right, they have the responsibility. See, we should never forget, and we believe it strongly, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a mission. People see our mission, but they come up with anything to divert our mission, divert us from it. Why everybody trying to get us out in the woods when everything is right here? It's insanity. Or why everybody trying to get us to follow foreigners, and they have a program of 50,000 people at a seminar or a conference, and they don't talk about nothing. They've been having them, they're getting close to 40-something, 50-year conferences now. And they don't mention anything that is helpful to the Muslims.
And nothing is done.
And they have big groups, supposedly civil rights and liberation, and they don't do nothing. Here's what they would think that was helpful to us. Discussion since 2004 has been complicated by the tendency of academics and military communities to use the term, that is asymmetric warfare, in different ways, and by its close association with guerrilla warfare, insurgency, terrorism, counterinsurgency, counterterrorism. Military authors tend to use the term asymmetric to refer to the indirect nature of the strategies many weak actors adopt, or even to the nature of the adversary itself. Asymmetric adversaries can be expected to rather than, they missed something here, than to the correlation of forces. Okay, I'll say, here's what they say. Academic authors tend to focus more on explaining the puzzle of weak actor victory in war. If power conventionally understood conduces to victory in war, then how is the victory of the weak over the strong explained? Key explanations in this include strategic interaction, how they interact with each other. Number two, willingness of the weak to suffer more or bear higher costs. We're willing, but we didn't train the white man that he don't even hurt us. We don't lose nothing. And we've secured ourselves. Losing is not, we have a masjid full of people and a big brotherhood and they all leave. That's not losing. Why? Because we know they're going to leave. So we make sure we pay for everything and we own everything, and we're here, a few of us, so what? All we're doing is resting for and planning for the next go-round, which we know is going to come. But since it's going to come, now we've had so many encounters, let's design our fitna. You're going to get fitna, right? A lot of people think that's arrogance. No, it's not arrogance. It's a new type of asymmetric warfare. Ain't nobody never thought of that. Sun Tzu, nobody. Oh, we read all the war stuff from 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Lao Tzu's, Chairman Mao. We read everybody. I mean, we stay in the library. You can see by the articles that we're not sitting around. See, they'll try to play it like them niggas is lucky. Or, let's see what we have here. External support of weaker actors. They had Iranian support. They had somebody else support. All our support packed up and walked away from us. I mean, we get a little support, but it's not like, it's like a little bit of help here, a little bit of help there. It's like...
Nothing major.
No, it's like if you go fundraising everywhere, you know, you fundraise and they help you a little, do they? It's nothing special like, okay, we know what you're up to, and we're going to make sure you have the wherewithal. Reluctance to escalate violence on the part of the stronger actor. The last go-round, they was trying to initiate violence. They had the big old fat girl, Khadijah, physically attacked me. Wait a minute, it's 4 times. 2 times in the kitchen. The one time from behind when the shirt was torn, and the other time you can see it on the video. They put it, if they haven't taken it down. They had me outside the masjid when I'm talking to you on the phone, and I'm going out and coming back every now and then. That's the time when She walks right up to the side of me and clipped me. Whoop. Okay. A lot of Muslims saw that. They don't say nothing about that. Why? Because anything you do to us is fine. So it ain't no reluctance to escalate violence on the part of, like the good big white man is so nice, he don't want to wear us out. So he holds back on the bombing and this, that. No. Internal group dynamics, that's not it. Inflated, strong actor war aims. He does have an inflated, let's say, the system was inflated until we ran certain things on it. You can call it anything you want. The buffoonery factor, you know what I mean? The clowning factor, you know what I mean? Right. The drawing them in deep factor, you know what I mean? To draw them in deeper and deeper and deeper until soup, and we make fun of them and laugh at them. That's our war. When you tease, if you think the Euro gets mad, you tease him and see what happens. He gets super mad. So we draw him in. It's the ridiculous factor. Yes, it's the ridiculous factor. We draw him in that his behavior is ridiculous. It's in front of everybody. They can't take this stuff back. It's wonderful. Okay, we call that strategic brilliance, and that's why we're putting it out over and over again. This is strategic brilliance. I'm sorry, y'all didn't think of it. Because you're too scared to fight the Euro, and since you don't fight him, you don't learn nothing. Now, if y'all straighten out all of y'all members of the Negro Muslim intelligentsia, if y'all start tussling with the Euro, he's gonna slap you around and you're not used to fighting. The first part is not gonna be fun. Actually, y'all gonna be scared to death. But fear is all right. If you're so scared, it make you fight. It make you determined that you could, hey man, so fear plays properly.
Yeah, for them to understand from the Islamic perspective, since they like the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Prophet and all that stuff, that's what made Khalid such a great warrior. Khalid ibn Walid. Because he fought all the time. Good God Almighty, he fought all the time. So he learned all kinds of stuff. And that's what made him, of course, Allah, we know it's from Allah.
Plus his gifts, it was a natural gift, and that's the way think about it. All your friends, everybody had a gift for something. Some Negroes could sing. They could just sing. They couldn't read or write or do nothing else, but they could sing. The only thing is they never exploited it. They never developed it. They never developed a group or anything. And they sat around on the corner until history and time caught up with them and they died. They never exploited their gift. Some brothers could run. Hey man. The people I ran with, I couldn't run as fast as they could. They was crowd-pleasing runners. I mean, even marathons, they would run. But I was a distance runner. That's what Allah gave me. And I never tried. When I wanted to get in super good shape, I would run fast with them. Because if I could run fast with them for 9 miles, shoot, I'd run a marathon 26 miles at my pace, sucking on a straw, maybe reading and writing and drawing, or listening to the walk. I could do anything. Because training with them, like for 5 miles, would have me ready, because I run my long distances anyway. But a hot 5 miles with them at their pace, good God Almighty. Then I slow down to my pace, another 10 miles, that's 15 miles, man, that's ready to go. Or run with somebody that runs a little bit faster than your pace, but it won't kill you. Boy, it's wonderful. Okay, it's a gift. All of us, I have never seen not a single Negro, and I mean, I probably white folks too, but I've been knowing Negroes the best, that don't have some gift for something. They do it naturally. They got something. Some guys be training for months, and so-and-so just jump out and start boxing, and he be knocking everybody out. And with training, he's a regional champion with just a little training. I had guys who used to live real, I mean, we was driving, we was professional, well, amateurs, but we might as well, we was getting buff. Some guys could come out and do a few bench presses, a few back arm and curls, maybe a few deadlifts or something, and they would go back, they would have a six-pack ripples. Only time I get six packs is when I'm down to 175 or 80 pounds. Then I can see them boys. Right? But I have to be so jaws sunk all in, everything. Okay, the guy got neck, you know, they got some special exercises, head thing for building your neck. And that boy be placed. And then you got them neck muscles, man. Your head be little old head like that boy be placed. It looks good though. Not too good, but your neck is too big. It'd be a little bit of eggshell sitting up down. Some guys they didn't do no neck exercises. We out there with that head thing, you know, and they don't do no exercise because that was their gift. They had a good physical structure. And if they developed, if they really worked hard, if they worked 2 hours a day like we could, they'd look like Arnold now.
They had a guy who used to play, actually he played with Kareem in Milwaukee, Bobby Dandridge. And he came to the Bullets later on. And he was a 6'6" guard. He used to give Dr. J the blues. He's the only guy that could check Dr. J. But they say Bobby Dandridge was the type of basketball player that when the season was over, the whole time in between the end of the season and the beginning of next season, he didn't touch a basketball. They said, but when he go to training camp, he pick up the ball and it's like he never missed it. Yeah. He didn't have to go through the training like everybody else, and that's it. He was just naturally, that's how he did. He said he don't touch a ball for 3-4 months, and everybody else got to go back to training camp. He got to practice and bounce the ball. He come back there, man, and pick off just like he never left, man. That's just a gift that Allah gave him.
Just like this picture of Imam Jamil, look at it if you want to. This is over 10 years ago. He's got outside recreation. That's those pens that they put you in. So they have a law that you should get so much sunshine per week or what have you. So now, instead of letting you out on the yard, they got a pen, a cell. The smaller the cell, you can see that wire back there. It lets the light and the sun in, and you can look at his face, the way it's puffy, and you can look at his arms. They're not taut, the muscles are not taut. That means the man has been psychologically tortured in jail. This is our friend, and the people with him want to keep him there in prison as long as they can. And we have to try to get our people out, no matter what. One of our brothers just got out. I went up somewhere, you know, left a little something, you know. But I don't know whether it's their parole or what have you. They don't want to, you know, get too involved. That's their business. It is not our. See, when you stay in a penitentiary a long time, it can have an effect on you. And when you have all the people turn away from you and leave you alone and all that, you know, well, It leave a lot of our brothers, for the want of other things, not too pro-Negro and liberation. They get out there, so I'm going to go on and use up my time. This is just one of those things that, this is 2013. Remember Mukhtar had said that I had misusing the Muslims' funds. I have 2013, 14, 15. This just says $15,000. So if you take 4 years, it adds up to about $50,000. And now it would be, I don't know how many tons of money. But up until last week, I got that up until this month. I may not get a check this month because I'm getting it off that Section 8 stuff. But all of this money all went into Masjid al-Islam accounts and paid our bills, stuff like that. But Mukhtar told people that I was stealing money from the Ummah because I wrote a check from the account for this house. And we got 10 times out of the money that I wrote the check for. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because I happened to find one around. And it has a slave name, it has this address, 4475 C Street. He came here. I put it in Masjid al-Islam accounts all the time. I just want to say that so people won't come. I don't care what they say. But people try to always find some little foolishness, like the memorandum says. This is groups seeking independence for Puerto Rico counterintelligence program, da 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 da. This is 1956. What does it say? Number one, disrupt and discord. So Mukhtar and would come to the programs with a camera like this when I came out there and disrupt and record the thing and just put it on. Creating doubts as to the wisdom of remaining in the independence movement. Creating doubts, oh, you shouldn't be part of that. In fact, Imam Musa is running everybody away. He's ruining the lives of the believers. They pack up and leave. We go out there and pay all their bills for them. They don't never pay none of ours, and we're ruining their lives. But causing defections from the independence movement. And it says also, it has about funds, make people think that hey, people are stealing money or anything. This is a common characteristic of churches, mosques, big organizations, that people steal money. Well, not in our organization. The leader don't steal the people's money, he gives them his money. So they could just take that in their little pipe and smoke it, and been doing it, so we don't want to hear any more of that, but if we do, it's all right with us. And we want to move toward a close because we don't want to be overbearing. We want to cure people. That's what this mission is. Liberate the Islamic movement from foreign control and domination. Liberate our people from inferiority complexes. Sold out leadership, that's why I showed you that. So nobody will be able to say, oh, Imam Musa sold y'all out. Or cowardly leadership, the government come and scare them to death and they change them. Liberate the agenda. Liberate the agenda. The agenda of the Muslims is an agenda of backwardness and inconclusiveness. To liberate the minds of people from defeatism. We're sorry we're Muslim, and we'll tell on all the Muslims, the people over here, around here, they tell on the Muslims. Just, we'll keep you up on all that.
Don't forget the organization.
Mm-hmm.
That's their
Good,
policy.
that's the good God Almighty. I'm not going to mention their name today, but we will get back to them. We have contact with them. No. We try to contact them, but we don't have no contact with them. And if they see you in a meeting, they won't say hi. Forget about salams. What we've done, like Hezbollah defeated the Israelis by using second and third generation weapons in a new configuration and a combination against fourth generation weapons of Israelis. And they beat them to death. We have used colorism from the time of Stephen Fetchit going all the way back to Moms Mabley them and everybody. And talking about Jim Crow, we use James Crow Esquire policies. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We are now already preparing literature for flyers and the language of success, the language of prosperity. And let's see, as we said, by our version, we're in a game, we may not win, but we cannot lose. And I want to clarify why we can't lose. Because the promised land is not a destination. You know, like before we get to the promised land, we get out of slavery and go up north, that's the promised land. When the immigrant come over here to the U.S., it used to be the promised land. Okay. For us, the promised land is not a place. It's a version of the truth. It's a mission. It's a vision of where we want the world to go and what part we want to try to play in. So the promised land is a lifestyle. When you get on the right road, you're in the promised land. I don't know about everybody else, but I've been in the promised land. Because on this road right here, it is the fulfillment of all happiness. You can't lose. When you're on the right road, you can't lose. When you're on the Islamic road, you cannot lose. You may not topple the big monster that day. It may not happen because Allah said, whether I show you in your lifetime or whether I postpone it for later. It's your job to get out there and get busy and use everything that comes your way as a benefit for the movement. I brought this beautiful book right here. This, you can see how thick it is. This book is called War in the Shadows. This is a great book. It's on guerrilla in history. 2,000 years of the guerrilla at war from ancient Persia to the present. This is a very, very good book. Now, they left it down there for me. Just like when I used to travel lately, I stumble into a connection I need to do this. Oh, I just stumble into, I could go to Denmark and I stumble, where you from? Oh, I'm from Oakland. Oh, I just stumble into somebody from Oakland. Or there's a guy there that I know is my brother. I said, oh, I just stumble into you. Well, that's what the book of coincidences is about. There's just so much coincidental. Now this book, just the book that I didn't know existed, but I would love to have this place right down there on the table for me. And I read it, and I loved it. And I breeze through it every now and then, and I love it. It's on physical guerrilla warfare. But I combined this, Chairman Mao's book, with psychological guerrilla warfare. So the tactics and the strategies, and the weak one against the strong one, and these are the type of results we get, design fitna. Because they wanted us to do physical stuff, because they got everything for us, and they would whoop the stew out of it, snot be running out of your nose. Oh boy, I tell you. See, when a white man sets you up, if you fall into his trap, he name call, you're a dirty dope dealer. He's a dope dealer, of course. And he just make fun of you. That's what that documentary, the 13, I just couldn't, I was so mad, because we've been trying to tell the people for a long time, but for sure 35 years, and tell them in real time. That means time where you can use the information. That's why we're launching this challenge to the Islamic movement. National mobilization, Islamic liberation of Oakland. Oakland Azad, that's what we're up to. Yes, we are. Because that's what's moving, to liberate the agenda. And guess what? We've already won the most part of it. We won. Why? Because we've survived in front of everybody the greatest onslaught. It don't sound like it, and it didn't feel like it, of any group of movements have ever had to stand up to in such a short time. We had, for 3 years, we had incidents every day, every other day, whether it's here, whether it's there. Sometimes we had it in both places at the same time. They may launch an attack in Oakland, and they think it's successful, and they send people a message, we coming to D.C., and then they have the people here go down and meet down. They have people who haven't been here in 10 years, go down and meet in front of my house like, we're going to change, we're going to put you out of here. Not out of Oakland only, we're going to put you out of D.C. I said, boy, these some tough customers here, boy, right?
It's amazing they want to put you out of D.C. But them people you coming from,
Right.
talking about,
Yeah.
you never see them come here and make a salat.
Yeah.
Not one prayer in the Masjid. And we all know the benefits of praying in the Masjid. And they ain't into none of that.
And the people that was here, movie makers and all of that, as soon as we built a movie studio, hey, they run off and everything. Anyway, the point is, we've won. Everything they threw at us, every time for the last 35 years, we come through with flying colors. The longer we live, the easier and better it gets. Like, it's not that we take it for granted. You can see, we don't say, well, we got this, we ain't gonna study no. Oh, no, it ain't none of that. Because of gratefulness, we study even more. We don't just monitor them. You can see, we monitor ourselves. Like, we're gonna go out there and sue them for $10 million. It don't make no difference what we get, but we don't monitor ourselves. We ain't going off because we get a hotel, a lot of money. Because we had a lot of money before. In fact, believe it or not, some of the people coming from, I told them over there in one place, I said, yeah, I think we own maybe 5 or 10 million in property between Oakland and D.C. They didn't believe it. They sent a guy from Atlanta to look around. Yeah. He called me the other day. I mean, I understand how a hookup goes. But they couldn't believe a Negro. I said, yeah, it just don't look like it. I said, I asked the guy, what's the brother he used to work for the city? He passed away. Ali Abdul-Mani. He worked for the part where they have, what's the part where they have eminent domain? Not eminent domain. That is eminent domain. Where they can take your property and give you $5 and build a road. That's called eminent domain, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So I asked him, you analyze property and the value. So I asked him, this is years ago. So how much is a masjid worth? He says, how many square feet is it? I said, it's technically 7,500 square feet, and it says it's concrete and steel. I said, yeah. He said, well, those are so many $100 per square foot or square something. He said, just do that times 75,000. I mean, times 7,500. I said, boy, this thing is up there. He said, yes, it is. I said, well, what about the houses? I said, well, you know, the houses, then houses is going up. We bought that boy for $25,000. We spent about $20 to fix it up, but that's only $40,000. Shoot. And that house, it was $34,000. Okay, we spent $20,000 fixing it up. The other way I stayed, we didn't pay but $15,000 for that. It was an eyesore. I mean, fix it up. Nice joint. And you add up all the lots, and you come up with, at worst, a couple of million.
Nice little piece of change.
That you own. And just think about it. People don't own.
Nothing.
They don't own it. When they get ready to retire, they don't own their cars, right? People are paying cars for 4 and 5 years now instead of 2 years. Longer than that?
Minimum 5 years. Minimum.
You mean when people buy 2016 or 17 should be out by now? He ain't gonna pay for that until 2022?
At the earliest.
At the earliest?
5 years.
Good God Almighty.
5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and sometimes 10 years.
So car note, house note, out, 30-year mortgage.
No doubt.
So if you get your house when you're 30 years old, you're going to be at least 60, and then you're going to be dumb enough to take a loan somewhere along the way. 60
if you keep a job that long.
Yeah, that's right. You don't get no 60-year job. They don't have 60-year jobs. 30 years, no. I mean, 35-year job.
Nope.
So if you go get a job now, it's like the lady, any government job, they office said, well, when was your last, I'm trying to get medic, anything. When did your last job? I said 1966. 1966? I said, yes, ma'am. 1966? I said, yes, ma'am. I worked from 1965 to 1966. I did. I worked hard, too. I did overtime, everything, from 1965 to 1966. Because, see, maybe we work 16 hours a day here, or 14. And when we get real lazy, we have a 12-hour day. You know, we have a 12-hour day. That's a nice, like now, we just cruise around, going to the movies, but we still have a 12-hour day. You know, that's when the vacation for us is a 12-hour day. Okay? That's writing, getting up in the morning, writing, praying, doing all this stuff. People call that work, but it's not work to me, it's fun. So I'm going to move toward a close. National mobilization for the Islamic liberation of Oakland. Prepare facilities to receive so many people. Why are we prepared to receive people? Because we have been training for this all along. There's a little shift. If we look at our current programs, we had re-Africanization of Islamic movement in North America. Well, that is exactly what we want to do, re-Africanization of Islamic movement in North America. If we look at Hubert Harrison, right? He had the same basic, I was shocked when I reread his stuff and I said, man, he should have waited to be around with us. But de-Israelization of the Islamic movement in North America, battle space awareness. That's what strategy teaches you, to always be aware of your environment. So we're not trying to build a movement in an Arab or Persian environment. That's why our friends, half of them don't help us. I was talking to a staff the other day about the same stuff. The Re-Africanization of the Islamic movement in North America. What is that? And then I was showing about design fitness.
What is that?
I said, y'all can't do that. So you scared of the folks. I said, you're gonna get fitness right here. So wouldn't you want to design your own fitness? That you get the fitness that you want. I want him to tickle me right here. So I arrange for him to come over here and tickle me there. But he gonna hit me upside the head with a bat. So I'm gonna arrange to give him a puffball bat. It's a bat, looks like a bat and everything. It's hollow inside. It's like them bats that, you know, when they hit you over a chair with the movie, the chair breaks. Well, that's what I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him one of them, so he gonna hit me over the head, and the thing's gonna break. He gonna say, I hit that nigga so hard that thing broke. Right? It's a design fitness. Right? He's gonna hit me, so I gotta give it, work out a way to where when our parents used to whip us sometime, I would tie the kind of belt around that I wanted my mother to whip me with. She'd just take that off and whip me. I didn't want them little thin belts, no iron cord, or no nothing like that, or no willow switch. You know the willow switches? The willow tree goes like this. Good God Almighty. Boy, them switches have webs all over.
Webs all over.
Good God Almighty.
You've been tortured.
Yeah, well, they would. That's torture. That is torture. That's torture. They'll put anybody in jail if you got a scratch or a mark on you. The kid, you going to jail nowadays, right? You can whip your kids, but you can't show nothing, or they better not say they did this. Off you go to jail. You're going to jail. They might take your poor child. Anyway, we're going to speed up. So we're prepared for this right here. And it's hard to tell people. They don't believe it. That you can manipulate the big boss man. That you can make a fool out of it. That your policy is to clown that man. It's buffoonery. That's what I'm going to do, boss man. You don't go mess with me, I'm going to make a fool out of you. I'm going to have everybody laughing at your behind. And that's the buffoonery trap. Not the buffoonery trap, the other one. It's
ridiculous trap. Ridiculous trap.
That's right. Oh, good God Almighty.
See, the reason they don't understand it is because they don't understand the enemy. They don't understand this enemy right here. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
So how you going to have a design fitna when you don't understand who you dealing with and how he operates? Whatever he say, they believe it.
So the language, mobilize, organize, stabilize, base areas, 2 base areas right now, DC and Oakland. We start in Oakland first. National War of Liberation, and that's the language we want to be using. A national war of liberation. We're going to liberate the Islamic movement from the hands of foreign domination. Doesn't that sound nice? It sounds nice. It sounds revolutionary. It is. The war of liberation, the national war of liberation, led by the Negro masses, because our people that had these ideas and hopes generations ago, they cut them off, hid them in the closet, and killed them and everything else. Right? But it's not arrogance, but it's too late for the white man. He should have done us in a long time ago, because we already got enough to make a fool out of him. All the people got to do is start watching. And believe me, don't worry about those numbers that people say, oh, they had 49 views or 50 views, and I think something's going on. Because I know how the people treat us. You see what I mean? And what's going on around us. So we thank everybody very much. And the Quran is clear that you will move from stage to stage. And we have moved from the stage of where the system had some authority to mess with us, to try to divert us. But over the years, we have evolved one step after another till we are a competitor. We've been using that word a lot lately. We compete with the system. Just like the Super Bowl, we're a competitor now. We're not the oppressed and walked on and humiliated. They don't humiliate us. Right? They can't step on us. I mean, physically, when they take me to jail, they do jump up on my head and stuff, and I'm handcuffed. But guess what? It don't have no effect. It don't, you know, most people would be, oh, that hurts. I just say, oh, the white man is jumping like down at the DC. He's actually jumping up and down on my head. That's really something. And they don't understand that it has no effect at all. You know what I mean? Why? Because maybe 100 years ago or something, it would have been something, but it ain't nothing now. Why? Because all the people, some of the people see that. And we telling the people, do not bow down to unjust authority, no matter what the cost. Oh, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. They're dragging me across the floor down at the 6th District right down Benning Road. So there's a snitch in the cell, and he said, I wouldn't want them to do that to me. I say, you ain't me. So I'm not you. I was just telling him, I say, you never bow down to unjust authority. Make them kill you. You didn't like to hear that? So yeah, make them kill you. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A brave man only dies once. That's what Shakespeare, one of them said that. Somebody said that. It's kind of true. If they whoop your behind and kick you in the butt and take your employment, and you walking down the street with a wine bottle in your back pocket, you die every day you get up as a dirty, dead day. Right? This is a sad day. Yeah, so better make them kill you quick than a slow death. So a brave man dies one time, a coward dies 1,000 deaths. And I don't mean people who's been broken by the system are cowards, because systems are designed to break people. So if they break somebody, there's no arrogance. I didn't mean any arrogance or hey man, you let the system breaks everybody that comes in contact with, 95%, or it kills them. And we're fortunate. They ain't killed us, they ain't broke us, and I don't think it's a chance. I don't think the cracker got a chance. And to have a nigga sitting there on the TV screen telling him every day that he's just an old girl, an old sissified personality, and he can't do nothing. And if he come around me again, I'm gonna slap him upside the head in public and kick him in his behind with some old Negrophile propaganda. You know those Negrophiles, you gotta watch them. Thank y'all very much. Stand by for future advertisement. As-Salamu Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. Well.